In the glittering, cutthroat world of European royalty, marriage was not a fairy tale. It was a business deal, a political chess move, a way to secure power, land, and alliances. For centuries, the mighty Habsburg dynasty perfected this game, their daughters, the archduchesses, serving as precious pawns. On the grand chessboard, these women were born into a destiny of strategic unions, raised to understand their bodies, and their wombs belonged to the empire. Yet against all odds, against the weight of tradition, family, and expectation, some of them said no. Some refused to play the game. They chose defiance, devotion, or destiny entirely their own. Here are the untold stories of 7 Habsburg Archduchesses who dared to walk their own path, leaving a legacy far more complex than any crown or kingdom could offer. Number 7. Archduchess Charlotte of Austria. Born in 1921, Archduchess. Charlotte was the daughter of Emperor Karl I, the last reigning monarch of Austria-Hungary. Her childhood was nothing like the grand gilded lives of archduchesses. Instead, it was marked by exile and instability. Her father lost his throne in 1918, and the family was forced to flee. They moved from place to place, first to Switzerland, then to the remote Portuguese island of Madeira. It was on Madeira that her father died tragically young in 1922, leaving her mother, Empress Leda, a widow with 8 young children, Charlotte being the 3rd daughter. This tumultuous beginning shaped Charlotte in profound ways. She grew up without a permanent home, acutely aware of the loss of their imperial status, but also of the strong religious devotion that held her family together. Empress Leda was a devout Catholic, and she instilled deep faith in all her children. As Charlotte grew older, the question of her future, as with any highborn woman, would inevitably turn to marriage. Even though the Habsburgs no longer reigned, their lineage remained immensely prestigious, making their daughters desirable matches for other European noble families, especially those who still held power or maintained significant wealth. Dynastic considerations, even without a throne, were still present. A good marriage could secure influence, provide stability, or even lay the groundwork for a future restoration, however unlikely that seemed. Charlotte was bright, intelligent, and serious-minded. She was educated by private tutors and developed a keen interest in intellectual pursuits, showing a thoughtfulness that set her apart. Unlike her older sisters, Archduchess Adelheid and Archduchess Elizabeth, who were also unmarried for significant periods or chose different paths, Charlotte's journey took a distinct turn towards religious life. It was not a sudden decision, but a gradual inclination that grew stronger as she matured. The idea of entering a convent, dedicating her life to God, was a profound rejection of the secular expectations that typically governed the lives of archduchesses. Instead of forming alliances through marriage, she sought an alliance with the divine. Her mother, Empress Leda, while deeply religious herself, initially hoped for her children to marry and continue the family line. However, she also understood and respected individual vocations. Charlotte's choice to become a nun was not made lightly. It involved careful consideration, spiritual discernment, and a deep sense of calling. She entered the Order of the Sisters of St. Peter Claver, a missionary congregation, a choice that emphasized service and devotion over worldly status. This was a radical step for a woman of her background, especially given the history of the Habsburgs, who often used convents as convenient places to house unmarriable daughters, but rarely for a daughter to truly embrace the religious life with such fervor and purpose. Her decision was less about being unwanted in the marriage market and more about an active personal calling that superseded all other possibilities. After her novitiate, she took the name Sister Marie de Vincanier. Her life as a nun was far removed from the palaces and ballrooms that were once the default setting for women of her rank. She dedicated herself to missionary work, serving in various capacities that brought her into contact with the less fortunate and focused her energy on spiritual and charitable endeavors. This path offered her a unique kind of freedom, one not found in political power or social prestige, but in personal commitment and service. She lived a life of quiet devotion, traveling to different missions, and embodying the principles of her chosen order. Her story stands as a powerful testament to personal conviction overriding the immense historical pressure of her lineage, a final, poignant chapter in a family defined by its strategic marriages. She passed away in 1989, having lived a life entirely on her own terms, defined by faith rather than dynastic duty. Number 6. Archduchess Maria Anna of Austria. Born in 1738, Archduchess Maria Anna was the daughter of the formidable Empress Maria Theresa and Emperor Francis Stephen. To be born into this family, especially as a daughter, meant one's entire future. Dynastic marriages were the absolute bedrock of Habsburg power, and Maria Theresa, the ultimate mother of Europe, was a master at arranging them. Her children, especially her many daughters, were her most valuable assets in this intricate political game. Maria Anna, known as Mariana within the family, was the second eldest daughter, placing her high on the list of potential brides for powerful European rulers. Her older sister, Maria Elizabeth, was considered a great beauty, and her younger sister, Maria Christina, would later be famous for her romantic love match, a rarity in those times. Mariana, however, was different. From an early age, it became clear that Mariana suffered from a severe spinal deformity. This curvature of her spine made her appear physically less appealing by the standards of the day, and it also brought her considerable discomfort. In an era when a monarch's daughter was expected to embody grace, beauty, and health to produce heirs, Mariana's physical condition immediately complicated her marriage prospects. It was a cruel twist of fate in a world where physical perfection was often equated with dynastic worth. While her mother, Maria Theresa, deeply loved all her children, she was also a pragmatist. She understood that Mariana's condition would make securing a high-status dynastic marriage exceptionally difficult, if not impossible. Potential suitors often demanded to see portraits and receive detailed descriptions of the princess's physical attributes, and Mariana's appearance was a significant obstacle. Despite her physical challenges, Mariana possessed a brilliant mind and a strong will. She was exceptionally intelligent with a deep curiosity about a wide range of subjects. She developed a profound interest in natural sciences, particularly physics and mechanics, as well as archaeology and numismatics. These were not typical pursuits for an archduchess, whose education usually focused on languages, music, dancing, and managing a household. Mariana, however, plunged into scholarly work with an almost obsessive dedication. She surrounded herself with scholars and scientists collecting instruments, books, and artifacts. Her rooms at Schönbrunn Palace became less a royal apartment and more a private laboratory and museum. The difficulty in arranging a suitable marriage for Mariana eventually became an unspoken acceptance within the court. Rather than being seen as a failure, her unmarried status ironically allowed her a unique degree of freedom. She was not sent away to a foreign court, nor was she forced into a union against her will. Instead, she was able to dedicate herself fully to her intellectual passions. Her mother, perhaps recognizing Mariana's exceptional gifts and the limitations imposed by her health, allowed her this unusual path. Mariana became a patroness of arts and sciences, using her considerable influence and wealth to support scientific research and cultural institutions. She was a member of the Imperial Academy of Sciences and Arts, a rare honor for a woman, and actively participated in its discussions. In her later years, Maria Anna chose to lead a quiet life, often residing at the convent of the Salesian nuns in Prague, where she became an abbess. This was not a forced retreat, but a chosen semi-religious life that allowed her continued intellectual pursuits and charitable work. Her chambers at the convent were equipped with scientific instruments, and she continued her studies until her death in 1789. Mariana's story is a compelling example of a woman who, despite physical challenges and the immense pressure of her birthright, carved out a life of intellectual fulfillment and purpose. She did not marry because the dynastic system found her physically unsuitable, but she also did not simply fade away. Instead, she redefined what it meant to be a Habsburg Archduchess, transforming an expected life of marriage into an unexpected life of scholarship and personal agency. She proved that a woman's worth was not solely defined by her ability to produce heirs or secure alliances. Number 5. Archduchess Maria Elizabeth of Austria. Born in 1743, Maria Elizabeth was another daughter of Empress Maria Theresa, meaning her life, too, was laid out before her. She was renowned for her extraordinary beauty, a feature that made her an immediate and highly desirable candidate for the most powerful royal houses in Europe. Unlike her older sister Mariana, Maria Elizabeth possessed all the attributes that a dynastic match required: striking looks, good health, and a lively personality. Her dazzling appearance was a source of great pride for her mother, and it was widely expected that she would make an exceptionally grand marriage, perhaps even to the King of France himself. She was often referred to as the most beautiful of Maria Theresa's daughters, a truly remarkable compliment in a family known for its fair daughters. Many powerful European princes were considered as potential husbands for Maria Elizabeth. Negotiations were ongoing for various alliances, and she was clearly destined for a throne. Her beauty was so significant that it was a constant topic of conversation at court, and her mother, Maria Theresa, often expressed her hopes for a brilliant future for her. Maria Elizabeth herself seemed to embrace her role, confident in her prospects and accustomed to admiration. She was lively, perhaps a little vain, and enjoyed the attention her beauty brought her. Then disaster struck. In 1767, Maria Elizabeth contracted smallpox. This terrible disease, which swept through Europe in waves, was a terrifying threat, often proving fatal or leaving its survivors disfigured. While Maria Elizabeth survived, the smallpox left her face severely scarred. Her once flawless complexion was marred by pockmarks, and her beautiful eyes were affected. The transformation was devastating. In an age where physical appearance was paramount for a royal bride, especially one whose main asset was her beauty, this disfigurement was a cruel blow. Suddenly, the very quality that had made her so desirable evaporated. The marriage negotiations that had been underway for her prestigious unions immediately cooled and eventually ceased. Maria Elizabeth's prospects for a dynastic marriage effectively ended with her illness. Her mother, Maria Theresa, while deeply saddened by her daughter's suffering, was also pragmatic about the political realities. Maria Elizabeth could no longer fulfill the primary role of a royal bride. Her personal disappointment was profound. She had been raised to expect a crown, a grand court, and a powerful husband. And all of it was taken from her in one terrible illness. She struggled with her changed appearance, often retreating from public view. Despite this immense personal setback, Maria Elizabeth was not simply abandoned. Her mother still loved her and ensured she had a comfortable life. She remained at the Viennese court, a constant presence, though no longer a central figure in marriage schemes. As the years passed, she gradually found a new purpose. She was intelligent and had a strong personality, albeit one that could sometimes be sharp or critical. Her unmarried status, though initially forced upon her by circumstance, allowed her a different kind of freedom. She was not bound by the demands of a foreign court or the pressures of producing heirs. In 1781, after her mother's death, Maria Elizabeth was appointed Abbess of the Noble Ladies' Collegiate Institution. This was a prestigious position, offering significant financial independence and social standing without the strictures of a traditional religious order. It provided her with a new role, a new court of sorts, where she could exercise authority and patronage. She embraced her new responsibilities, running the institution with efficiency and dignity. She became known for her generosity, her lively wit, and her ability to organize elaborate events. She was no longer a pawn in the marriage game, but a woman with her own domain. Maria Elizabeth lived a long life, passing away in 1808. Her story is a poignant tale of beauty, lost, and a life unexpectedly redirected. A stark reminder of how fragile a royal woman's destiny could be, and how some found a path to dignity and influence, even when denied the expected royal marriage. Number 4. Archduchess Maria Magdalena of Austria. Archduchess Maria Magdalena was born in 1689, a daughter of Emperor Leopold I and his third wife, Empress Eleanor Magdalene of Pfalz-Neuburg. In the late 17th and early 18th centuries, the Habsburg court was a hub of European power, and Leopold I, a deeply religious and culturally inclined emperor, had many children destined for dynastic roles. Maria Magdalena grew up in a household steeped in tradition, devotion, and the constant hum of political intrigue. Like all archduchesses, she was educated to be a suitable bride for a foreign prince, taught languages, music, and court etiquette, and prepared for a life of duty and diplomacy. However, Maria Magdalena never married. While records do not explicitly state her refusal in the dramatic sense, her unmarried status was a clear deviation from the norm, especially given her position as a daughter of the Holy Roman Emperor. Unlike some of her sisters who either married or entered convents early, Maria Magdalena remained at court in Vienna for her entire life. This suggests a combination of factors that led to her unique path. Perhaps suitable matches did not materialize, or perhaps she simply did not appeal to the candidates proposed, or maybe she subtly resisted the pressures. It is not uncommon for individuals in such positions to quietly reject proposals without outright public defiance. Maria Magdalena was known for her sharp wit, her intelligence, and her strong, independent spirit. She was a keen observer of court life and had a reputation for being well-informed and discerning. She cultivated intellectual pursuits and was deeply interested in the political affairs of the day, often engaging in lively discussions with her brothers and other courtiers. Her unmarried status allowed her a certain degree of freedom that her married sisters, bound by the expectations of foreign courts and the duties of motherhood, could not enjoy. She was not tied to the whims of a husband or the political demands of another kingdom. She became a fixture at the imperial court, often serving as a confidant to her brother Emperor Charles VI. Charles held her in high regard, valuing her counsel and her loyal presence. Maria Magdalena was particularly close to Charles's wife, Empress Elizabeth Christine, and played an important role in court life, participating in ceremonies, attending theatrical performances, and engaging in social events. Her apartment in the Hofburg Palace was a gathering place for intellectuals and artists. She amassed an impressive library and was known for her sophisticated taste. Her life was not without its shadows. She suffered from ill health in her later years, a common affliction in that era. Despite her physical challenges, she maintained her intellectual vigor and her interest in the world around her. Maria Magdalena's decision, or perhaps the circumstances that allowed her to remain unmarried, set her apart. She was not a nun, nor was she a reigning regent. She was simply an archduchess who lived her life independently within the confines of the imperial court. She cultivated her mind, her relationships, and her personal interests, creating a fulfilling existence outside the traditional role of wife and a mother. She passed away in 1738, respected for her intellect and her distinctive presence at the heart of the Habsburg world. Her story subtly highlights how, even within the most rigid systems, some individuals could find a way to forge a life that defied the expected trajectory simply by remaining unattached and cultivating their inner world. Number 3. Archduchess Maria Anna Josepha of Austria. Born in 1654, Maria Anna Josepha was a daughter of Ferdinand III, Holy Roman Emperor, and his third wife, Eleonora Gonzaga. Her birth took place in an era defined by grand dynastic strategies, particularly after the 30 Years' War, where alliances were crucial for maintaining peace and power. Like all Habsburg daughters, her future was expected to involve a carefully negotiated marriage to a foreign prince, cementing an alliance or expanding influence. The imperial court in Vienna was a center of ceremony and strict hierarchy where religious devotion was deeply intertwined with political life. Maria Anna Josepha was raised with a strong Catholic education, preparing her for either a life as a royal consort or, for those not deemed politically necessary for marriage, a life within the church. For Maria Anna Josepha, the path taken was the latter. She chose to become a nun. This was not an uncommon fate for archduchesses who were considered surplus to dynastic requirements or for those with particular inclinations. However, the choice could also be a genuine and deeply personal one, a direct embrace of a spiritual vocation over the worldly demands of a royal marriage. It was a refusal of one destiny for another. For a woman of her status to enter a convent was a significant decision, usually requiring the approval of the emperor and empress, and it was often seen as a way to retire a daughter gracefully while still maintaining her honor and providing her with a purpose. This order, known for its strict asceticism and contemplative life, was a stark contrast to the luxurious and politically charged environment of the imperial court. By entering such an order, she was effectively severing her ties with the secular world and rejecting any future marriage proposals that might have been considered for her. This was not just a convenient arrangement for the family. It was a profound personal commitment to a life of prayer, poverty, and seclusion. She would have taken vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience, dedicating herself entirely to God. Her entry into the Carmelite convent was a deliberate act of choosing a spiritual life over a political one. It was a world away from the diplomatic receptions, the elaborate balls, and the endless negotiations that characterized the lives of her royal sisters. Instead, her days would have been filled with prayer, manual labor, and spiritual study. Within the quiet confines of the cloister, this decision highlights a powerful internal resolve, prioritizing spiritual conviction over the immense external pressures of her birthright. She was not marrying into a kingdom. She was marrying into a convent. While the specifics of her inner thoughts and motivations are not widely documented, her choice speaks volumes. It shows a clear preference for a life of deep religious devotion, indicating that the world of courtly marriages held less appeal for her than the spiritual fulfillment offered by the Church. Her life within the Carmelite order, though hidden from the public eye, would have been one of intense purpose and spiritual discipline. She passed away in 1689, having lived her final years as Sister Maria Anna Josepha, far removed from the royal machinations of her family, a silent testament to a life freely chosen, a life that refused the throne for the altar. Her story demonstrates that, for some archduchesses, a convent was not a prison, but a sanctuary, a place where they could truly refuse the political machine and find a different kind of freedom. Number 2. Archduchess Maria Elizabeth of Austria. Born in 1680, Maria Elizabeth was the daughter of Emperor Leopold I and his third wife, Empress Eleanor Magdalene of Pfalz-Neuburg. She belonged to a large family, and like her sister Maria Magdalena, she remained unmarried throughout her life, but her path was radically different. While most archduchesses faced the prospect of dynastic marriage, or, less commonly, a quiet life in a convent or at court, Maria Elizabeth forged a unique and powerful role for herself. She became governor of the Austrian Netherlands. This was an unprecedented level of political authority for an unmarried archduchess, making her a formidable figure in her own right. From an early age, Maria Elizabeth was recognized for her intelligence, her strong will, and her administrative capabilities. She was educated to a high standard, fluent in several languages, and possessed a keen understanding of politics and governance. Despite these qualities, suitable marriage proposals that satisfied the Habsburg court's high standards for power and prestige did not materialize for her. In her youth, or perhaps her own ambition and desire for autonomy played a role in her remaining unmarried. She was not a conventionally meek princess waiting for a husband. In 1725, At the age of 45, Maria Elizabeth was appointed Governor-General of the Austrian Netherlands, a territory corresponding largely to modern-day Belgium and Luxembourg. This appointment was a tremendous vote of confidence from her brother Emperor Charles VI, who recognized her exceptional talents and her loyalty. It was an executive position, placing her at the head of the administration responsible for military affairs, justice, and the economy of a significant and strategic part of the Habsburg Empire. This was no honorary title. It was a demanding job that required real leadership and political skill. Maria Elizabeth embraced her role with remarkable vigor and competence. She took up residence in Brussels, in the Koudenberg Palace, and quickly established herself as a firm and effective ruler. She was known for her strict adherence to rules, her rigorous work ethic, and her dedication to the well-being of the provinces under her care. She personally oversaw numerous administrative reforms, invested in infrastructure, and promoted economic development. Her court in Brussels became a center of culture and refinement, reflecting her own sophisticated tastes. She was often seen as a powerful and respected figure, capable of holding her own against the male politicians and diplomats of her era. Her unmarried status, far from being a limitation, was arguably an asset in her governorship. She had no husband whose political interests might conflict with those of the emperor, and no children to distract her or create succession issues in her appointed role. Her entire focus was on her duties to the crown. She was known for her independence of thought and action, often corresponding directly with her brother and making decisions without much interference. She was in essence a viceroy, holding supreme authority in the emperor's name. Maria Elizabeth continued to govern the Austrian Netherlands with distinction for 16 years until her death in 1741. Her reign was largely peaceful and prosperous, a testament to her administrative prowess and leadership. Her story is a striking example of an archduchess who not only refused the traditional path of marriage, but actively carved out an entirely new and influential role for herself. She demonstrated that a woman, even within the confines of a patriarchal monarchy, could achieve significant political power and leave a lasting legacy, not through a husband, but through her own intellect and determination. She was a ruler in her own right, proving that a crown was not always necessary to hold true power. Number 1. Archduchess Maria Anna of Austria. Born in 1610, Maria Anna was a daughter of Emperor Ferdinand II and his first wife, Maria Anna of Bavaria. Her father was a staunch Catholic, a key figure in the Counter-Reformation and the early phases of the 30 Years' War. The Habsburg dynasty in this period was deeply committed to its Catholic faith, and religious vocations were often seen as honorable paths, especially for daughters. For Maria Anna, the pressure to marry for political gain would have been immense, as her older sister, Archduchess Cecilia Renata, was married to the King of Poland, and her younger sister, Archduchess Eleonora, would marry the King of Poland as well. From a young age, Maria Anna displayed a profound spiritual inclination. She showed little interest in the courtly life or the political maneuvering that surrounded her. Instead, her focus was on religious devotion, prayer, and contemplation. She felt a strong calling to dedicate her life entirely to God, embracing a monastic existence rather than a dynastic one. This was a clear personal decision, a rejection of the expected role of a Habsburg Archduchess, whose very purpose was to be a pawn in the grand marriage game. Her decision to become a nun was not a mere passive acceptance of a fate where no suitable husband was found. It was an active pursuit, a genuine vocation that she held above all other considerations. She entered the Discalced Carmelite convent in Vienna. The Discalced Carmelites were an austere order, emphasizing strict discipline, silence, and intense prayer. Far removed from the pomp and circumstance of the imperial court, her choice represented a radical break from the world. She was born into a direct and intentional refusal of secular power for spiritual fulfillment. Upon entering the convent, she took the name Sister Maria Anna, Joseph. Her life was transformed from one of imperial privilege to one of humility and service. She lived according to the strict Carmelite rule, engaging in daily prayers, manual labor, and silent contemplation. This commitment demonstrated a strong will and deep conviction. She dedicated herself entirely to her spiritual life, finding purpose and peace within the cloistered walls of the convent. Her days were spent in quiet devotion, away from the political storms and social expectations that define the lives of her siblings. While the details of her daily life within the convent are largely unrecorded, her choice to remain there until her death in 1665 confirms the sincerity and permanence of her decision. She lived a life of devotion and discipline, far from the pressures of dynastic marriage and the demands of ruling a kingdom. Her story is a testament to the power of personal faith and individual will, even within a system designed to control every aspect of a royal woman's existence. She found freedom and purpose not by seeking a crown but by giving herself to a higher calling. Embodying a profound refusal of worldly expectations,